In the age of social media that we are in, it's very easy to compare yourself to other people and feel like you're not doing enough or that you're behind in some sort of way. With recent decisions that I've made to cut my hours at work, you have to be really confident in your decision and what you're doing. We've had a goal to pay our house off in 5 years, which would be 2025. Never would I have expected me to get burnt out of my work position that I've loved for so long and have that start to affect my mental health, whereas I eventually would need to cut my hours. Completely not associated in any way, couldn't see it coming, because whether or not we're paying off our house early, I would still be working a full-time job. Due to a number of things happening within my job, it just happened, and eventually I realized I needed to make a change. 15 months ago in October of 2023, I stopped doing overtime, and then as of last week, January 2025, I have cut my hours in half. Now that I'm actually experiencing clocking out every day at 12 o'clock, I realize that this is amazing, and I'm so happy with the decision. Do not regret it at all. I finally had to come to the decision that I want to have a work-life balance and enjoy myself even more than I want to have my house paid off by a certain day in 2025. Originally, our goal was July. That's not going to happen now unless somehow, some way, we end up bringing in more money in a different way. So with changing our plans, that means that some other things that we had planned for 2025 are going to be put on hold. For example, we have our kids 529 that we've been contributing to now for about 18 months. With paying off our house by July, originally, we had planned to contribute a lot more this year after the house was paid off, so maybe in the second half of 2025, and it's possible that that doesn't end up happening right now. 2024, we had a goal to contribute $1,000. Our state gives us a state tax deduction, so you can contribute up to $4,000 per beneficiary, which is amazing. Who doesn't want to get a tax deduction of $8,000 if we contributed the $4,000 to both kids? I don't really see right now how we would end up contributing $8,000 this year. In 2026, who knows what could happen. Additionally, investing for ourselves. So of course I have a 401k. My husband also has a 401k that he recently opened up. We had always contributed to mine. I was contributing 10% to a Roth 401k and my job would match 5%. We did the math and figured that we would actually end up with more in retirement if I contributed 5% instead of 10%. And then he contributed 4%, his job gives a 4% match. So we started doing that in late 2024. His retirement is now almost at $1,000 already. So it's a great feeling. However, with me working part-time, I am now making half of what I was. So before, 5% of my income was about $100. Now I'm assuming it's gonna be about $50. My job would still match 5%, but they would match my $50. And then also they do an additional 3% annually. So really it's an 8% match. They'll contribute 3% of my annual 2024 salary. Let's say 55 gross, 3% of that, you can do the math. So we definitely plan to start contributing more to the 401k, more in other ways, like maybe opening up a Roth IRA, something like that, which we can still do, just won't be maximizing it or maxing it out like we had originally planned. So let me be your example that no matter what financial goals you're working on, whether you're paying off debt, paying off a house, or you're just contributing a lot to retirement, either way, you're putting yourself in a great financial position. I've learned to give myself grace. I've learned to remind myself about the great things that we are still doing with our finances. In our case, we're still going to have a paid off house in 2025. And I think sometimes I just get so wrapped up in the goal that I had set out for myself, which we're still going to do. And I don't take a second to just remember, like, you know, even though I'm turning 30 this year, that's not the end all be all. I still have a lot of time, income to make, and we're still going to be in a great position. Our kids are going to be in a different position than we were growing up. Even just something simple like making sure my kids have a packed lunch. When I was in middle school, it was suddenly my responsibility to pack my lunch every day, and just having more time. I mean, regardless, I wouldn't let my kids go to school hungry, but even more so now that I am working 20 hours a week, I have more time to really make sure that everything is set for my kids, let alone income. I remember the one year that I did cheerleading growing up, which was my sophomore year of high school. I remember that my mom paying that like $200-ish. I feel like that really had her in a drought for a little bit until the next payday came to be able to afford other things. Like I can tell that that hurt her financially to pay for that. And I don't want that for me or my kids. I want to actually already have that money sitting there before they even decide that they are interested in sports or extracurriculars. I want us to have that money sitting there and waiting for them, and it not have to be something that we have to say, okay, they could play this extra sport, but are we going to have money for other things like groceries this week? I don't want us to have to deal with that. So it's just changing our situation entirely while also remembering like how great we're doing for ourselves. We took 3 years to pay off $100,000 in debt. We're still on track to have a paid off house in a total of 5 years. And I think that's so good for us. And I just think that I know that sometimes I can struggle with, this goal that we had set out for ourselves. Sometimes I think about it. More than anything, I know that I made the right decision. I'm bettering my mental health every single day when I'm clocking out after 4 hours and I have time to do other things, whether that's housework, editing a video, working on other things. Like I know that I'm doing better for myself. Sometimes people get really up in arms or they want to argue even about what's the best way to get to financial freedom or to better yourself for your finances. Very specific things. People will say, oh, you need $5,000 in your bank account, not $2,000 for an emergency. I just think that we get wrapped up on the number that we have, just period. Do you have savings? Do you have enough in the bank if something comes up? On the other hand, oh, should I save money or should I pay off my credit card debt? Should I choose this credit card debt with this high interest rate or that credit card debt with that high minimum payment? Whatever you're doing to work towards bettering yourself for the future, regardless, is a great thing. We don't have zero in retirement. I'm not 30 yet, and we already have at least $65K in retirement. Sure, a lot of people my age might have a lot more than that, and a lot of people my age might have a lot less than that. Regardless, we're doing very well for ourselves. Compound interest is going to work in our favor over the years. And once we have no mortgage payments, we will have more to take care of other things. But yeah, there are some things that are going to be put on the back burner because our income is going to be a lot less for a little bit here. I know we had other things that we wanted to do, like things that aren't requirements, but kind of extracurriculars. We wanted to get another iPhone later on in the year, a couple months after the house was paid off. We wanted to pay for a patio later on in the year because we would have had money for all of those things. I don't know what the future holds. I hope that we could bring more in later this year in other ways. But if not, at the end of the day, and we can't get a patio by the end of 2025, I think that 2026 is going to be looking really, really good for us. Also, with us getting paid bi-weekly, sometimes we're sitting and waiting and we are saying, okay, we made that minimum mortgage payment. Now we have 2 more weeks until we're going to see this balance change. And part of being on different types of journeys, whether that's a fitness journey, a financial journey, you have to have a lot of patience. You aren't going to have instant gratification all the time. You're going to have to sit and wait for things until you get paid again and get some more money coming in, unless you have another source of income to get you there sooner. I don't know what side of social media you guys are on, but on my side, there's a lot of different things. Like for example, with it being the new year and people can max out a Roth IRA day 1, month 1, people are contributing their $7,000 and having that interest accumulate throughout the year already. And seeing things like that, I'm like, wow, $7,000, you just had that waiting. Like that sounds amazing to just have $7,000 extra dollars just sitting there waiting to get invested. But comparison is a thief of joy. I know that I do not want to compare myself to them. Sometimes I can be in chapter 10 and someone else can be in their chapter 15. And I don't know what they took to get to that point, to be at a point where they have that money waiting for them to invest. I'm so happy for them. I know that that probably is a great feeling to do something like that. And I hope one day I can get there. Not only that, but maxing out our 401k. I'd like to someday do that. So yeah, it's funny because I know that I had made a video on social media, like all of our plans for what we're going to do once our house is paid off. And we can still do those things. It's just not going to be as soon as we thought. And sometimes slow and steady wins the race. You just have to be patient and wait for your time to come. In the meantime, while you have a whole lot of extra time at your disposal, we can find ways to make money in other ways to get us there, whether that's finding something else that you're passionate about, selling things. I see some people, they make a lot of money like buying older furniture, fixing it up and selling it. If you have time for things like that and you're passionate about stuff like that, there's another source of income for you right there. So I love that for so many people. I also think about Airbnb. Now, I think one day, if we are in a completely different position where we could buy a house in cash, would love to do Airbnb if I don't have a mortgage. After we pay off this house, we're totally done. I don't want to go back into debt for anything. But tell me what you guys think. Is there anything going on in your life where you feel like people are just doing really, really well? You feel like you're falling behind? You're not. You're getting closer and closer to your goals, but sometimes there are some things out there. We see it. We're all on social media or TV, even anywhere. And sometimes you're like, wow, that's really amazing for them. I love that. But the bright side is we can look at it positively and say, I can't wait to be doing that exact same thing.